What's up, Mansion Builders? On this episode, I want to talk to you about hiring your manager. So we are finishing up construction for our neighborhood of mansions. We are promoting a bunch of our caregivers to assistant managers, and then we're also looking to hire outside people to come in as new managers for our team. So I want to talk to you about who we are looking for, what kind of experience we're looking for, who are the people that we are not looking to hire or promote. As you are growing your own assisted living business, who should you look to hire the first time for that manager, or who should you consider, hey, you know what, I've been running for 6 months or a year, I'm ready to replace myself, become more passive in the business, and I want to take my best caregiver and promote them to an assistant manager. Who should that be? So a common line of thought is, you know what, I should promote the person who's been with me the longest, right? They've put in the time, they deserve it. Right? Or it's, hey, you know what, this person has the most experience. They've been doing this the longest. Or they have the right type of experience. They have management experience. Maybe they were a manager at another type of business or industry. Or you know what, maybe they're good at some of the things that I'm not good at. They're good at the medications or talking to the families or sales or something to that effect. So I should hire them. And I think all of those are good things, but they are not the right thing. The one thing that I am considering is the standard. Who can hold the standard the best? Who is going to live that standard and who is going to uphold it for all of the other staff? Because the standard is the most important thing. That is how your business is running. What degree of quality and quantity and speed and level of care and love and all these great things, right? How is that being ran? That is based off of your standard. So let's talk about this standard idea, all right? What is this? Everyone has standards, right? Your business should have standards too. When you go back to when you were younger and you're thinking about dating someone, right? You have standards for who you're gonna date. You're like, oh, that person over there, no, not gonna cut it, right? I will not date that person. You have standards for your friends. There's certain ways that you will not allow people to treat you or speak to you. And you're like, no, you know what, if you speak to me like that again, we are not communicating anymore. We are not hanging out, right? Like there are certain line in the sands where it's like anything past this point, no, I have a standard here and it is not acceptable. Or maybe it's even the food you put in, right? Like personally, I have a standard. Like I will not eat crappy fast food, right? Like I've not been to McDonald's in 20 years. I've never taken my kids there. That is a standard that I have. You have your own standards and therefore your business should have standards as well. So let's talk about that. What kind of standards do you have for your company? Because in an assisted living business, right, the core function is taking care of grandmas and grandpas. It's providing amazing care. And there's a lot of different aspects and dynamics that go into that. And those have standards, right? What is the standard for care that you have? What is the standard for bed changing? What is the standard for the food that you put out? What is the standard that you allow people to come in late or not late, right? What is the expectation for cutting corners on certain things? What is the standard for communication, right? There's so much drama in this industry with a bunch of young women being our ideal avatar for our caregiver, right? A lot of times they don't have that maturity yet. They haven't spent 30 years in the workforce or in corporate, right? They're fresh out of high school or college, or they're young moms and they speak with a bunch of drama and rudeness and all that kind of stuff. What is the standards you have? You're like, listen, you will not speak to your coworker like that, right? There will be a write-up. You will not speak to me as your manager like that. These are all standards. So really it's up to you as the head, as the owner or CEO to determine these standards, right? Here are the things that are like, oh, it's kind of no big deal. And here are the things that's like, no, we are very strict on these areas, this and this and this. We have to have this minimum standard, right? So it can go back to your core values. It can go back to what's important to you, to our AL3, that's our assisted living 3. That's the things that we are selling, our uniqueness, right? For us, that's love, right? High levels of care, right? We are gonna have genuine love. We have a standard there. And it's luxury, right? That goes back to a gorgeous building. That goes back to picking up the trash on the floor when you walk past it, right? That's part of having a gorgeous building. And that's also our food, right? We have gorgeous, awesome chef-prepared meals. That goes back to this part, the luxury part of this, and that standard for quality on meals. And then life, that's the third AL3 for us, right? That goes back to fun and the culture, the environment, right? Smiling faces, having a great attitude, choosing joy, not coming in with your life drama, leaving that outside, coming in with a great attitude and treating your fellow coworkers and residents with love and respect. And it's your job to implement these standards, to say lots of little times, right? Very politely, hey, you know what? That's not the way we do it here. We're gonna do it like this. Hey, you know what? Showing up 5 minutes late might have been fine at your last job. It is not acceptable here. Hey, you know what, chef? You made this okay looking meal, but you know what? I need every plate to look consistent. I need all of them to be garnished. I need all the plates wiped and edges, and I need it dropped on time, right? That is the standard. Every single employee has a standard for multiple different things, and that is your job to determine what those are and then to enforce them. Now, as we're circling back to who do you promote, if you're looking to promote a caregiver to maybe an assistant manager, or you're looking to bring in someone from the outside to hire, right? Who can take this up? They are the standard bearer for your company. So as you're considering what staff do I promote, all of your staff should be able to hit most of these standards most of the time, right? No one's gonna be perfect, but honestly, if they're not hitting the standards, you probably need to fire them, remove them regardless, right? And you're probably not considering them. So think of this numerically. Who of your caregivers hits this standard the most? But more than that, deeper than that, it's not about how good they are at following directions and how many check marks they can have next to their name at the end of the shift. It's more about they hit this the most because of their character, because of who they are. It happens to be their standard as well, right? That standard for excellence, that standard for amazing care, it is who they are. It's in their core, right? They are the person that you're looking for, because not because they hit the most check marks, right? Because they do this the most. No, that's not forced. That's not what we're talking about. It is because this is the kind of person that you're looking for. They naturally take up that standard bearer role because they have the same standards as you, as the business. So find that standard bearer. It shouldn't be very difficult. You should know, right? You see them day in and day out. If you are involved in the business, if you are setting the standard yourself, you are knowing, hey, here is my girl, right? She is the one taking care of these grandmas the way I want them treated and the way that I'm taking care of them, right? That is your person. That standard bearer is the one who can walk the walk, right? A lot of times when you promote someone, they get new into management, they're thinking, hey, you know what? I don't have to do this work anymore. I'm just the delegator. I'm gonna be the one sitting in the office and dilly-dallying. When no one's paying attention, I'm gonna go on YouTube and I'm gonna tell people what to do. You don't want that person, right? You want the person that's going to be getting their hands dirty. That's going to be the person who's been doing this for years, all right? They're the one who have the standard, who have been doing these actions the best. And therefore, it is expected that they're going to keep doing these things. Because honestly, when things go wrong and people call in sick or no call, no show, they are the one that needs to jump back on the floor and take up the reins, or during the hard times or during the falls or during the busy hours, right? They're there to be able to do this. So you want them the best at these standards to be able to back up and do these kind of things and really lead by example, because they are the ones that are going to be an extension of you, and therefore holding that standard to the other caregivers and the chef and whoever else is coming in, even the outside service people, right? They are there to hold that standard to those people. They're not even our employees, and we're gonna be like, hey, we are not talking to our grandmas that way, or we are not gonna be rough during shower time or whatever it is, right? We will kick your butt out of here. So the standard bearer needs to be able to walk the walk and then be that person to say, hey, you know what? You're falling behind in this area. That's not the way we do things here. And that kind of gets into these skill sets, right? Communication is a really important one. Leadership is a really important one. The email side, the admin side, talking to the families, the documentation, the ordering of medications, all of these other things that you may say, hey, Brett, you said not to hire based on those things. I really don't think you should. You should hire the standard bearer, and then you come one step at a time and you train those skill sets. I think you start with the right person and then you train the right skills instead of starting with the right skills and trying to train the right person. You can't ever train the right person. You either are this person, it's in your core, it's in your blood, and then you find that person and you train them on what you need to do. Honestly, this job, this role as a manager or assistant manager is not that difficult from a complex perspective. It's a difficult position because there's a lot of moving parts and things going on, and you're taking care of people and doing it genuinely with love. That's hard to do day in and day out, but it's not complicated, right? So it is relatively easy over a few month period, one task at a time, to train the right person who has that standard. But if you went the opposite and you brought in somebody with experience, they work for big corporate for 15 or 20 years, and they are not much of a standard bearer, right? There was a very low standard. You look at some of these big facilities, right, that are national chains, and they are the worst, and they have horrible, horrible standard of care. But that's just the normal for what they do, right? So you bring them in, and they're just like, oh, okay, well, our level just went from an A down to a C minus, right? That is now our standard. A C minus care, a C minus food, a C minus communication between our other staff. That is the standard that they will hold the other staff to. So if you have this expectation, like we are the best in our city, we're gonna provide amazing care and the best food and really just knock it out of the park, you bring in that person and all of a sudden, everything now dilutes. They are now holding the rest of the staff to a C minus level of care. And this is where a lot of small and young entrepreneurs fail. They get excited, they grow their business, they start hiring their team. The first 2 or 3 months, it's great. You're excited because you're able to take off Fridays and you're only working 20 hours a week now. And then you start spending more time with your kids. And then you realize like, man, what's happening? Why can't I fill this bed anymore? I used to be able to fill my beds right away, right? Why am I getting staff issues? Why are my staff quitting all the time? That person, they've been with me for 2.5 years and they're a rock star and they're there every single day. How did I just lose them? It is because now things changed. You held a standard up high, right? You had this A-level standard and now your new manager, the person in charge, the running the day-to-day, has a much lower standard than you. And therefore it is changing your business. So it comes back to you as the owner, as the CEO. Your standard needs to be the highest standard. You are the ultimate standard bearer. Everything below you will dilute, right? If your goal is to be 100%, the best of the best at everything, and you hire an amazing manager, they're still not gonna be 100%. They don't own the business, right? Hopefully you get someone who is a 95%, 92%, right? Where they're an solid A, right? They're gonna hold everyone to a solid A standard. If you have a great standard bearing manager that is holding that A-level standard, honestly, it's gonna dilute from them down as well, right? Your best caregivers, hopefully they can keep an A, right? A minus, B plus, but it's a constant battle. It's a constant daily, small reminders, small checks. Hey, this is how we do this way, right? We need to hit the 2-hour bed checks. We need to plate this way, right? We need to not email the families with kind of that tone or speak to, our other staff with that tone. It's a constant reminder of the, naturally just things want to lower and drop and take the easy way out and cut corners. It's a constant, let's come up. We are keeping the bar at this level. And if you're hearing this and you're thinking to yourself, man, you know what, Brett, that sounds great, but I don't have any caregivers or any staff or any managers that are like that at all. You know what? Honestly, the first action you need to take is you. It may be, what is the standard that I am living? Not that I'm expecting, because if you're not walking the walk, people are not gonna come up to the standard that you are not walking yourself. So look in the mirror, right? What expectations do I have when I come into the assisted living? How is my attitude? How am I greeting all my grandmas and grandpas? How am I treating my staff? When things go wrong, how am I responding to that? When I walk past trash, right? Am I stopping to pick it up? Do I come in on Thanksgiving and Christmas to the holiday parties, right? Am I meeting with the families? Am I spending time with the grandmas? If I am holding that standard of excellence, then it is a reasonable expectation that I will have this standard of excellence from my managers and my staff below that. But I have to be the enforcer of the standard. I have to be the polite encourager of, you know what, guys, let's pick this up. This area over here is slacking. And are you holding people accountable? Do you have weekly meetings going through these things? Do you have KPIs on all these different subjects? So just remember that as the owner, you are the ultimate standard bearer, and it will only dilute from there. So if you're not happy with the standard of your company, then start with yourself. Raise your own standards and then bring everyone up along with you.